Hello, Stefan here with Liquidity with a video about how to apply all four German cases to adjectives.
Liquidity.
The use of adjectives is perhaps the most confusing and seemingly unnecessarily complicated aspects in the German language. Grammatical, gender, cases, number, and the difference between definite and indefinite articles all are contributing factors to the complexity. If you feel a bit unsure about grammatical cases and also gender, I would recommend that you watch my other 3 videos on how to apply the 4 cases to definite and indefinite articles. I go into a little bit more depth there with some of the details, and if you're not really sure, watch those videos first. Here too, I will use the 3 animals which represent the 3 grammatical genders in the German language. So we'll be talking about the dog, the cat, the horse. Der Hund, that's masculine. Die Katze, that's feminine. And das Pferd, that would be neutral in terms of grammatical gender. I will use the German adjective klein, which means small or little. So in these examples, I will be talking about the little dog, the little cat, the little horse, and then I also will be using the plural. And as well, I will be talking about a ball, which is the toy that these animals will be playing with. And I need the ball because for some of the examples, I need a direct object. First, let us go over examples of definite articles in combination with adjectives. So in the nominative, where the noun is the subject of the sentence, we have these examples. Der kleine Hund spielt. The little dog plays or is playing. Die kleine Katze spielt. The little cat plays. Das kleine Pferd spielt. The little horse is playing or plays. And for the plural, we would have die kleinen Hunde, Katzen, Pferde, you can exchange those in this case, it's all the same, spielen. So in German, that would be the little dogs, cats, and or horses are playing. Okay, let's talk about definite articles with an adjective in the accusative case. So here, our definite articles, adjective and noun combinations will have to be in the accusative, therefore they are the direct object. Ich sehe den kleinen Hund. I see the little dog. Ich sehe die kleine Katze. I see the little cat. Ich sehe das kleine Pferd. I see the little horse. The only difference with those 3 that you see is in the masculine singular. So in the nominative, it was der kleine Hund, and now it's den kleinen Hund. So we have an N added to kleine, and the der changes to den. So in both cases, we have an N added. The plural would be, ich sehe die kleinen Hunde, Katzen, Pferde, which is identical to the nominative. So I see the little dogs, cats, or horses. Let's talk about the dative. So in this case, since our definite article, adjective, noun combination phrase is the indirect object, I also need a direct object. Now, direct object is the ball. So let's just imagine those animals all are playing with the ball. So here are my examples. Ich gebe dem kleinen Hund den Ball. I give the little dog the ball. Ich gebe der kleinen Katze den Ball. I give the little cat the ball. Ich gebe dem kleinen Pferd den Ball. I give the little horse, or to the little horse, the ball. So here we have a couple of changes. So first of all, we have with the masculine and the neutral noun, we have the article changed to dem. So M is kind of a giveaway for the dative case for masculine and for neutral gender. And we have die kleine Katze turning into der kleinen Katze. So we also have an N added to all three adjectives. And then the plural would be this. Ich gebe den kleinen Hunden, Katzen, Pferden den Ball. So the only two changes we have with the plural is that die, the adjective, turns into den for all three genders. And we also have an N added to the nouns that don't have an N on it already. So Katzen is already the plural in the nominative and accusative case. But for Hunde und Pferde, we have an N added to it for the dative case. Let's talk about the genitive case. So in this case, I'm basically saying this is the ball of the fill-in-the-blank animal. Das ist der Ball des kleinen Hundes. That's the ball of the little dog. Das ist der Ball der kleinen Katze. That is the ball of the little cat. Das ist der Ball des kleinen Pferdes. That is the ball of the little horse. And you can see the changes here is that for the masculine and for the neutral, the article changes to des. And for the feminine gender, it's der, just as with dative. So that stays the same as with the dative. And then we also have for the masculine and for the neutral nouns, we have an added es ending. Let's look at the plural. Das ist der Ball der kleinen Hunde, Katzen, Pferde. So in this case, looks almost exactly the same as the accusative. However, the one little change is that die changes to der. All right, let's talk about the indefinite articles. So basically the same sentences. The only thing that I'm going to change is I'm changing the to a. So instead of the little dog, the little cat, we have a little dog, a little cat, a little horse. So let's talk about the nominative. Ein kleiner Hund spielt. Eine kleine Katze spielt. Ein kleines Pferd spielt. So a little fill-in-the-blank animal plays or is playing for all three of those. And for the indefinite article, we don't have a plural. It just doesn't make sense. So in this case, we have two little changes here with the adjective, right? So if we have an indefinite article, you can see how there's an R added to the kleine with the masculine and an S added to kleine with the neutral gender. So it's ein kleiner Hund, ein kleines Pferd. The feminine stays the same. The accusative case. So in this case, I see a little dog, a little cat, a little horse, and in German that would be Ich sehe einen kleinen Hund. Ich sehe eine kleine Katze. Ich sehe ein kleines Pferd. So here we see a couple of changes. So we no longer have for the masculine kleiner, we have einen kleinen Hund. Dative case for indefinite articles. So in this case, I'm basically saying I'm giving or I give to a little dog, to a little cat, to a little horse, the ball. So in German that would be Ich gebe einem kleinen Hund den Ball. Ich gebe einer kleinen Katze den Ball. Ich gebe einem kleinen Pferd den Ball. So here we see a couple of changes. So first of all, we have the M again, which is kind of a giveaway for the dative case. And that's for the masculine and for the neutral gender. So einem kleinen Hund und einem kleinen Pferd. And for the feminine, we have a little bit of a change here too. That would be einer kleinen Katze. So that's the only difference here. The genitive case. So here I'm saying this is the ball of a little dog, of a little cat, of a little horse. And in German, that would be, das ist der Ball eines kleinen Hundes. Das ist der Ball einer kleinen Katze. Das ist der Ball eines kleinen Pferdes. So see here how we have an S added to the articles, eines, for both the masculine and the neutral genders, and for the feminine gender we have einer. We also have endings to the actual nouns, both for the masculine and for the neutral genders. So Hundes, Pferdes. So masculine, eines kleines Hundes, feminine, einer kleinen Katze, and neutral would be eines kleinen Pferdes. So you can see how complicated this can get a little bit. It seems like sometimes it's really straightforward and sometimes it's just unnecessarily complicated. Why is it that way? I can only imagine how that might drive people crazy. But you just have to know these and, practice them really. That's the best way to remember them, to practice them, to use them as much as possible, to read and to speak as much as possible, and to listen as well. So let's compare the definite and indefinite articles with the use of klein side by side. In the nominative, we had der kleine Hund spielt, ein kleiner Hund spielt. Die kleine Katze spielt, eine kleine Katze spielt. Das kleine Pferd spielt, ein kleines Pferd spielt. So you can see some of the differences here. Let's look at the accusative case side by side. Ich sehe den kleinen Hund. Ich sehe einen kleinen Hund. Very similar, right? Feminine, ich sehe die kleine Katze. Ich sehe eine kleine Katze. Also quite straightforward. And then for the neutral gender, ich sehe das kleine Pferd. Ich sehe ein kleines Pferd. Dative case. So here, again, I'm giving the animal the ball. So for masculine, we have ich gebe dem kleinen Hund den Ball. Ich gebe einem kleinen Hund den Ball. So not a huge difference here. Then for the feminine, we have ich gebe der kleinen Katze den Ball. Ich gebe einer kleinen Katze den Ball. So der, einer, again, that's a logical connection right there. We have the R ending here for the dative feminine. And then for the neutral, we have ich gebe dem kleinen Pferd den Ball. Ich gebe einem kleinen Pferd den Ball. Genitive case. Okay, so here we're talking about this is the ball of the fill in the blank little animal, right? Das ist der Ball des kleinen Hundes. Das ist der Ball eines kleinen Hundes. Das ist der Ball der kleinen Katze. Das ist der Ball einer kleinen Katze. Das ist der Ball des kleinen Pferdes. Das ist der Ball eines kleinen Pferdes. So here the changes that we see are actually quite consistent across the definite and indefinite articles. So not really that confusing. So hopefully seeing them side by side helps you see some patterns, and that will hopefully also help you remember them, or at least understand how they function. And then as you practice them, you will then train your internal grammar. And then ideally, over time, it will just sound right when it's right. That's how we learn languages as young children. We can sort of replicate that as adults as long as we also have that cognitive aspect where we understand how it works, but then we practice it as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was helpful. If you did like it, please give it a like. If you enjoy my videos in general, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so yet. Mach's gut, take care. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen. Thanks for watching. Bye. Tschüss.